87. ولا يجوز أن تخص ليلة الجمعة بصلاة زائدة على سائر الليالي. It is not fit, it's haram that the night of Jum'ah, that someone prays on the night of Jum'ah any extra prayers that he doesn't normally pray. Like someone who prays every Jum'ah a prayer, but he on other days he doesn't do it. This goes for fasting the day of Jum'ah and praying the night of Jum'ah. I mean, anyone can pray any day of the week. You can say, for example, I will do Qiyamul Layl or Tahajjud or every Sunday or every Monday or every Saturday, but not Friday. Friday night, if you want to pray on Friday night, it has to be with another day. Friday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, you understand? You have to put at least 2 days a week. And also with the fasting of the day of Jum'ah, it is forbidden unless this is something like regular fasting or regular prayer. Someone fasting one day and not fasting another day, he will fast eventually Jum'ah, because if he starts Thursday, then Saturday, then Monday, then Wednesday, then Friday, if someone is fasting this, that is fine. But no, just someone choosing Friday, like probably Friday is his day, Saturday is Friday his day off, so he can wake up early at night and pray. That is haram, it is forbidden. That is because of the hadith which is narrated here by Abu Huraira. He says that قال عن النبي الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قال لا تخص ليلة الجمعة بقيام من بين الليالي. That don't specify the night of Jumu'ah with the specific prayer from among the other nights. Ibn Abi Hatim says this hadith is ma'lud. It is in Muslim. Ibn Abi Hatim says it's ma'lud. Abu Hatim says it's ma'lud. But I didn't see why he said that. So anyway, there is another hadith which is 288 مسألة. He said وخير الأعمال ما ثبت أن رسول الله عمله وداوم عليه وإن قل وذلك أحب إلينا من الزيادة عليه. This is what we call almost the madhab of the Salafis. You say the best actions or the best deeds are the ones that the Prophet have done. The Prophet has done and he has done continuously. So he said we don't like to add on that. Like if the Prophet has prayed 11 rak'ah at night, according to him it is makruh to do 13. And we said before this that there is no proof for that. The more you do, the better. Except that
witr should be last. The witr should be last.
The witr should be last, and that the person should try to do something that he can keep. You understand? 13 is better than 11, and 15 is better than 13. You understand? Such as if they say the Prophet, if it comes in the hadith that the Prophet used to give every let's say every period, like he give charity and he give 1 dinar daily. Are you going to say 1 dinar is better than 2? No, 2 dinar are better. He would have been given, he will give what he can afford. So he will also pray what he can afford, because he has other duties. And this differs from one person to another. He says also here, he mentioned the dalil for that. لَقَدْ كَانَ لَكُمْ فِي رَسُولِ اللَّهِ أُسْوَةٌ حَسَنَةٌ. Allah says that the Prophet is best example for you. And then he said the Prophet was not to leave what is best. There is something in the religion that probably he is not being extreme here, but generally it is people are supposed to worship Allah alone, and Allah has made some people better than others, and He ordered us to respect some people and to look highly at them and not to harm them in any way and not to disrespect them in any way, and we are supposed to do that, but we are not supposed to exaggerate, and exaggerating including to say anything about them that we have no proof of. Now, is the Prophet the best? Definitely he is. The most knowledgeable and the most fearing of Allah. He said, Inni a'lamukum billahi wa atqakum. I am the most fearful of Allah, and I am the most aware or knowledgeable of Him. He also said that who will obey Allah if I disobey Him? So He will not disobey Allah. But to say that He will never do something where there is something better, you have to have separate proof for that. I mean, fasting every day, He said it's better. To say fasting one day and not day, like the fasting of Dawood, He said that it is the best fasting. Are you going to say, now He didn't do it? We definitely know that He didn't do it. Are we going to say that is not the best fasting? You will be making Him a liar, and that is not acceptable. Are you going to say He didn't do it because He couldn't? Yeah, because He couldn't, because it's difficult. That is why He couldn't. It is not that easy. So here, that will make His saying invalid. I mean, always, it is the nature of the human that Allah tells people, respect this person in a way that they can't keep to the limit. They have to add something from their heads. Like, follow Jesus? No, we worship Jesus. And it is the nature of people that it's difficult to keep. You understand? Always adding a little. Either leaving don't accept a commandment. Okay, respect the Sahaba. Either they say, we don't respect them, or they say, we are going to respect them, but extra. Don't blame us. You told us to respect them, so we are going to now cross the limits. No. It's you have to cross to stop the limit. There is limits. You just do. I mean, if Allah didn't say respect the Sahaba, what will happen? They are people and we are people. Why do we have to? But then he said that you shouldn't swear at them. You shouldn't swear at any Muslim anyway. But when he mentioned them, he specified, like, be extra careful. And he also said that if someone has anything, if someone of you becomes a leader, or he has a power where he can harm people or he can be nice to people, and he should be extra nice with the Ansar. So if they do something wrong, they should disregard you understand? Disregard that. If they do something right, then compensate them for that. So if they do anything except the hudud of Allah, that requires hudud of Allah, you just disregard it. Someone has done something haram but is not really. So then the Ansar, if someone knows the Ansar, who are the Ansar and their descendants, and then they are all called Ansar, then you have to treat them in extra carefully, and you be extra nice to them, because this is the order of the Prophet. But then you don't have to exaggerate and go above what he has said. And people generally, it's difficult to people to keep to that. Now when he says the Prophet was not to leave something better and do the second better, what is his proof? This is a person, for example, who every time speaks, he will bring a proof. Where is it? There isn't. The proof shows otherwise, that he will say that this is better, but he will go to the second choice, because what is the best, probably he can't afford to do it. It's difficult.
What was the example you just gave about what's better?
The Prophet said that the best fasting is the fasting of Dawood. You understand? Fasting one day. And now if anyone says something like other than this, he is a liar. He is contradicting the hadith of the Prophet.
Is there one for prayer as well?
He said the best prayer is the prayer of Dawood as well.
What was that?
He prays, he sleeps half of the night, then he pray third of it, and then he sleep the sixth. Yeah, half, third, sixth. 6 plus third equals to half. So he sleep half. 12 divided by 2, that is 6. The third of 12 is 4.
Anyway, carry on.
Plus 2 equal to 12. Okay? Okay. Do you understand this?
No.
You understand?
Where is
So,
that? Where is it? Where? Muslim?
Muslim. Okay, so he said, so as long as the person can keep the deeds, he says that, he bring a dalil for what he said. He said, Ya ayyuhan nas, that the Prophet said, the hadith which is narrated by Bukhari and Muslim, Ya ayyuhan nas alaykum min al-a'mali ma tutiqun. O people, do whatever you can afford. فإن الله لا يمل حتى تملوا. That Allah will not be bored until you get bored. وإن أحب الأعمال إلى الله ما دوم عليه وإن قل. That is, the best deeds to Allah are those that are consistent, even if it's little. Okay, so that is one thing. We go to second now, to the second مسألة. 289. He said the صلاة التطوع في الجماعة أفضل منها منفردا. He said the salat, the no obligation prayer in jama'ah, better than someone prays it alone. He said, and every tatawwuh in the mosque, in the houses, is better from praying in the mosque, except what is prayed in jama'ah in the mosque, then it is better. You understand this point? Yeah? She says that prayer in jama'ah is better, even for the tatawwuh. He said, except for but generally it is better in the house, except if you have to pray in the house alone and in the mosque with jama'ah, then praying in the mosque is better. You understand this?
Even for
For tatawwuh, he says, if you pray tatawwuh at home alone, if you pray at home, what is no obligation prayer, is best to pray at home. So if you pray alone at home, is better than praying alone in the mosque. This is for no obligation prayer. Yeah, the prayer. Yes, that is the 2 rak'ah before Fajr, the 2 rak'ah before the 4 rak'ah that the Prophet used to pray before Dhuhr, prayer after Dhuhr, before Asr, before Maghrib, after Maghrib, all these prayers is better to pray them at home if you can. So, all the sunnah is better to pray it at home, because the Prophet saw people praying in the mosque. He say, عليكم بالصلاة في البيوت فإن أفضل صلاة المرء في بيته. The best prayer is the one that a person does in his house, إلا المكتوبة, except for the obligation prayer. The obligation prayer, it's better to pray at. But what he is saying here, he's saying praying if you pray alone at home is better than praying alone in the mosque. But he say if you pray jama'ah at home is better than praying jama'ah in the mosque, not for the obligation prayer.
Jama'ah and Sunnah.
Yeah, he says to pray jama'ah sunnah is better than praying sunnah alone. He says, but if you are praying sunnah at home alone and in the mosque they are praying in jama'ah, then it's better to pray in jama'ah. For example, such as Salatul Layl. All the sunnah the Prophet used to pray alone. All the sunnah.
Alone. Okay.
Yeah, this is he used to pray alone, because sunnah you can't call people to pray. You will make it obligation on them.
Yeah.
But never the Prophet was praying and someone came and stood next to him and prayed with him and he told him to go away. The Prophet used to pray alone, and then Ibn Mas'ud come and stand next to him. He never said go away.
So would Ibn Mas'ud be praying Sunnah as well?
Of course he was praying sunnah. The Prophet was praying and then Ibn Mas'ud came and stood up next to him and he prayed with him. One day the Prophet was praying, Hudayfa ibn Yaman came and stood next to him and he didn't say anything. Ibn Abbas came to the Prophet, stood next to him, he didn't say anything. You see the sunnah, the Prophet never made this sunnah like Tarawih Ramadan. He said, Maqama Ramadan, whoever prays in Ramadan, غفر له ما تقدم من ذنبه. So the Prophet never used to pray in Ramadan Jama'ah. What happened? One night he was praying, so people came in the mosque, they saw him praying, they stood up behind him. And then this following night, people started talking. The Prophet prays at night and some people are praying with him. So more people came. The third night, more people came. So he refused to go out. So they thought maybe he is sleeping. They throw a stone on the door, stones on the door to wake him up. He didn't come out. And then in the morning he said, I knew that you were there, but I was afraid that you do it and then Allah will make it extra, an obligation on you. So the fact that the Prophet didn't use pray sunnah jama'ah, it's not like it's anything that you can in a religion, anything that you can do alone, you can do in jama'ah. There is nothing in the religion that says, oh, this thing you can do it alone, but if you do it in jama'ah is like bid'ah. There is nothing such. This is a rule that is invalid.
Well, is there any evidence to say that the people who pray at home in jama'ah, not obligation, voluntary, is better than praying congregation?
Well, this is what the Prophet says. He says salat, the prayer of a person in the house, is better than his prayer.
Where is that? Where is it?
Yeah, but
Bukhari.
But that is his prayer. I'm saying praying in jama'ah as nawafil, as a group, a man with his family, his wife, his mother, whatever, doing tarawih in his house. Would that be more rewardable for him? I mean,
than going to the mosque.
Going to the mosque and praying with the jama'ah in the mosque.
Yes, clearly the hadith of the Prophet that the salat in the house is better than praying. People when they go to the mosque, that is because most of people can't read Quran, so they go to the mosque. I mean, the Taraweeh, the way we know it today, started at the time of Umar ibn Khattab. It was not at the time of Abu Bakr. It started at Umar ibn Khattab time because people can't afford, like not everybody memorize Quran, and people want to pray, so they used to, people like in the mosque of the time of Umar ibn Khattab, people will be praying one group here, one group here, one group there. People like everybody will call someone that he memorized Quran or he knows Quran, and he will lead the prayer, because this is not an obligation prayer, so there is no adhan, and then Umar ibn Khattab came with this idea. He said, why don't we just pray it all together as like one jama'ah, and he made Ubay ibn Ka'b as the imam. So that is something that is we call, it's not bid'ah, because prayer is not bid'ah.
He called it a good bid'ah.
No, it is not. The hadith that is da'if, but yeah, but it is a good bid'ah. What we call, there is it's not a bid'ah in terms of he is adding to religion something. The prayer is not bid'ah. Praying all the time is good. Praying in jama'ah is good, because the Prophet said Salatul Jama'ah is better than prayer. That is general, not only for the fard, also for the sunnah. Salatul Jama'ah is better than person praying alone. That is include the sunnah. So what Umar ibn Khattab have done here is a good thing to do. And there is nothing in the religion that says what he has done is wrong. You see, anything that the Prophet have not done is not a bid'ah, the way it is put by what we call the some people. Some people say if you pray, like anything that the Prophet has not done is a bid'ah. No, anything that the Prophet has not spoken about is a bid'ah. Because if the Prophet says something and he doesn't do it, he is a human being. He can't do everything. Can he? A human being, if he is praying, he can't be doing dhikr. If he is doing dhikr, he can't be doing other things. Understand? So he has to choose what is the best for him. And another person also within the rules of the Sharia has to choose what is best for him. Someone is married to many women, and he is a leader of the Muslims. He must look after them, and he also does jihad, and so all this he has to take into consideration when he does something. You understand? The Prophet, if he prays all night or most of the night, or he prays long many a lot of prayers like 40 rak'ah or something, he has other things to look after. He must go to sleep so he can wake up in the morning, so he can look after the people, so he has wives, but it depends if someone, a man who has no, you understand, he can do jihad because he is blind and he is sitting in the corner of mosque, he has nothing else to do. So this person, the more dhikr he does, the better. The more prayer he does, the better. The more recitation of Quran, as long as he doesn't exceed the limit, which is reading the Quran in less than 7 days, then it's fine. I mean, what is haram, the Prophet has explained it with his saying. And the time where prayer is not okay, the time where you can't pray, the Prophet said it. You can't pray after Asr, you can't pray after Dhuhr, after Fajr, but then in between Dhuhr and Asr, the Prophet used to pray 2 rak'ah. It's not a bid'ah to pray 100 rak'ah.
When you said about 7 days, yeah, wasn't it? I remember hearing somewhere 3 days.
3 days, yeah. There is hadith like this, 3 days. From Qatada. From Qatada, from Zurar ibn Awfa, yeah.
Is it 7-day one that you shouldn't read the Quran?
That is in Bukhari and Muslim.
You shouldn't complete the Quran.
You shouldn't read full Quran in less than 7 days. If you read the Quran, you have to finish it in 7 days. Not you have to finish it in minimum 7 days. You can finish it in a year if you want, but minimum 7 days.
Is that necessarily what the Rasul warned us about, or?
No, not necessarily what he warned about. If someone start dancing, you see, bid'ah comes from this hadith. من عمل عملا ليس عليه أمرنا فهو رد. Whoever does something that is not from our matter, yeah, it's rejected. من أحدث في أمرنا هذا ما ليس منه. Whoever create something in our matter, the matter of our matter is the religion, our religion. If someone adds something to it or creates something that has without precedence, then it is rejected. So that is anything that you do trying to please Allah, where Allah didn't say that will please him, or the Prophet didn't say it. Someone, for example, standing, coming to the mosque and standing there all day. Understand? Someone before prayer, he come and stand up for 1 hour every day, and then when he finished the prayer, he stand up straight away. Now if you ask him and he says, why are you standing? He says, I have back problem, I need to stand as, that is not problem. If he says, I am standing because for fi sabilillah, that will be a bid'ah. There was a man like in the time of the Prophet who was standing in the sun, like outside, it was hot, and the sun, you have to go to the shade. Yeah, he didn't go to the shade. What he did, he was under the sun, standing, and and then people around him. So the Prophet said, what's wrong with this man? They said he made a vow to stand up, just stand up under the shade, not to talk, and to fast, so he is torturing himself fi sabilillah. When the Prophet heard about it, when the Prophet saw him, he said, order him, muruhu falyaq, order him to sit and to talk and to go to the shade. Like these things are not from religion, that you don't talk. It's not in our religion not to talk, is it? Or just to stand up like this, or to torture yourself with heat. But fasting is from the religion. So he said, and to complete his fasting. His fasting is fine, because fasting is from the religion. The other things that are not from religion, rejected. You understand?
What about just reading Yasin to somebody who passed away?
Yeah.
Is that bid'ah or?
That is hadith da'if. And if you act to believe that is right, that will be a bid'ah. But to believe that the Prophet said that reading Surah Yasin will make so and so. But if you want to read Surah Yasin,
they don't say that the Prophet said that, but they do it every single time there's a azan.
I mean, look, Surah Yasin is Quran.
Yes.
Yeah, but they do it every single time.
Yeah. Surah Yasin is Quran. To read Quran, is it haram?
No.
Okay. To read any surah from Quran, is it haram?
No.
Now, because some people believe that reading Yasin is better than reading Surah Al-Baqarah, that person should be told, you should not believe this without proof. I mean, to believe that Surah Yasin is better than Surah Al-Baqarah, he must explain why. You don't come to the book of Allah and say, this surah is better than this surah just like this. You are lying about Allah. So that is haram. But that will not make, you can't come and say, reading Surah Yasin is a bid'ah. You can't come and you see this rule? Reading Surah Yasin when someone is dead is a bid'ah. What if someone says, look, I memorized it because I thought it was good. So now the only surah that I know is Surah Yasin. When you tell people reading Surah Yasin is bid'ah, now this person who is not going to do it for that reason, it's bid'ah for him. No, it isn't. He is not. If he want to read Surah Yasin, he can read Surah Yasin, he can read Surah Al-Fatiha.
Individually, not gathering.
Why not gathering?
You can't gather people.
Rasulullah ﷺ says in the hadith, there is hadith in Bukhari and Muslim, that لا اقرأوا سورة ياسين على موتكم حديث ضعيف. But the hadith he says أنا عند ظن عبدي, I am according to what my servant think about me. وأنا معه إذا ذكرني, and I am with him when he remember me. فإن ذكرني في نفسه ذكرته في نفسي. If he remember me within himself, I remember him within myself. وإذا ذكرني في ملأ ذكرته في ملأ خير منه. If he remember me in the jama'ah, I remember him in the jama'ah better than his jama'ah.
No, they don't. I'm talking about my people, because if somebody passed away,
Yeah, I know.
Yasin, they read the,
Yeah, they do bid'ah. They do bid'ah,
Okay,
and then the opposite, they do bid'ah as well.
No, the Quran, okay, I'm not having a lot of problem,
Yeah.
but sometimes they say, أهدينا له ثواب القرآن. Who are you to give ihda for somebody dying? ثواب القرآن.
No. They say, oh Allah, what we have read here,
Because like,
this give us a reward for this Quran, and we give this reward of Quran, give it to this person. This reward,
yeah.
give it to this person.
So that's a lie.
You see, this person is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, the people, the Quran says وَأَن لَيْسَ لِلْإِنسَانِ إِلَّا مَا سَعَى, وَأَن لَيْسَ لِلْإِنسَانِ إِلَّا مَا سَعَى, that anybody doesn't have, will not get except what he has done. Now, anything, the Prophet was asked about women have passed away, and someone said, can I give charity on her behalf? He said, yes, you can give charity on her behalf. Another person said, can I do Hajj on behalf of my sister? He said, you can do Hajj on the behalf of your sister. You understand? So there is nothing, the ayah that says لَيْسَ لِلْإِنسَانِ إِلَّا مَا سَعَى, that is what the person will get. That's true. A person, what he has done, that's what he will get. There is hadith that says إِذَا مَاتَ ابْنُ آدَمْ انْقَطَعَ عَمَلُهُ مِنْ ثَلَاثٍ. If a human being dies, his deeds are cut except for 3. And then people use this ayat and this hadith and say, if a person dies, nobody can do anything on his behalf. But here the Prophet have given permission to other people to do stuff on other people's behalf. And the answer of the people who say you can do on other people are this hadith. They say, look, the Prophet has ordered some people to pay charity on other people's behalf, to do Hajj on their behalf, and to fast on their behalf. And then they said, yes, the person deeds are cut, but other people deeds for him are not cut. Are not cut. So what he does for himself is finished. He can't do it anymore. But what other people can do for him, that is still possible. People can do for him. You understand? I mean, there is hadith in Bukhari, many hadith in Bukhari and Muslim, where some people like, there is a madhab, and then this is the madhab of the Ibn Taymiyyah, and that you can't do on stuff on other people's behalf. And he took it actually from Ahmad bin Hanbal and Abdullah bin Mubarak. But other people have different opinions, and they just sometimes the problem with the Salafi madhab is when they believe something, they make everything else like bid'ah. They are very loud. Instead of, sometimes they are clearly wrong, but still bid'ah. Rather than discussing matters, it just, our opinion is right and that is bid'ah. No, you don't. It's not like.
So reading Yasin for somebody passed away. So
no, if reading Yasin, it depends on.
not only Yasin.
If any Quran, reading Quran, or because someone has died, and you want to make dua for him, and then so you sit down, you read Quran
together.
Yes.
No problem.
Look at the hadith. إذا ذكرني في ملأ, if he remember me in a group, I remember him in a group better than his group. So what does the hadith say? Say do dhikr in jama'ah rather than do it alone. It encourages people to do dhikr in jama'ah. There is hadith, this hadith is in Bukhari and Muslim. I give you another hadith in Bukhari and Muslim in Kitab al-Da'awat, hadith Abu Hurairah. The Prophet said that there is malaika walking around looking for jama'ah of dhikr. When they come across a jama'ah that they are doing dhikr, they sit around them. And then when they finish, they go back and Allah asks them, where did you come from? They say, we were with a group of people who were doing dhikr. He say, what they are doing? They say, they are doing tasbih and tahmeed and tahleel and takbir. Subhanallah, alhamdulillah. You see like some Sufis do. Now this hadith, you hear that some people say, this is bid'ah. Well, this is the hadith says this. The hadith is in Muslim, in Kitab al-Da'awat. And it's in Bukhari, in Kitab al-Da'awat. That Allah says, what they are doing, they say, they are doing tasbih and tahmeed and tahleel. And then He says, what else? They are asking you things. And He say, what they are asking for Jannah. He say, I grant them Jannah. And then what else? They are asking you, like doing the dua. They say jama'ah. This is the malaika saying that this jama'ah. Another hadith, the Sahaba, this hadith of Abu Musa al-Ash'ari. He say we were in a battle, in a travel. And the Sahaba started shouting with dhikr, group. And the Prophet said, Ya ayyuhan nas, O people, arbi'u ala anfusikum. Take it easy. The one that you are calling is not deaf, is not away. He is with you. So He told them not to shout, but He didn't tell them don't do dhikr together. I mean, all together they were shouting, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar.
Allah, there is a lot of scholars I heard, they say in opposite what you said. They say
Yeah, I know.
It's not, the Prophet ﷺ did not do it, leave it.
Did the Prophet say it?
No.
What, did the Prophet say it? I mean, he didn't do it. Did he say it?
No.
He didn't say all this hadith that you have to do dhikr. You can read dhikr together. All this hadith that the Prophet said. That Allah says, if someone remember me in a group, I remember him with a group. What about this hadith? I mean, if someone says, we do only what the Prophet have done, what about the Prophet have said?
And I had a lot of dispute with my people about that,
Yeah.
Because my dad, when he passed away, I didn't want to go to no dispute, so my brother, they did two.
Yeah.
One for the elderly, because his generation.
Yeah.
And one for people, you just left it like
democratic.
Yeah.
One for the Salafis, one for the non-Salafis.
No, well, you can say it that way if you want, but you know.
I tell you something.
Yeah.
Why do you say the lot of scholars? What about the people before? The people before who used to do this? There was no religion then. Religion came now only. What about before? Why necessary? Before Albani there was no religion. People were kafir.
Of course.
Okay. So why do you think people before used to say okay, and now they say it's not okay? It's question of the Salafis today. They have a higher voice. The Saudi government is their madhab. They print books, they give money, TV, so their shuyukh they can talk. Other people they can't talk because they are not known. That's all. And people like to majority before this madhab of Salafis, it was minority, very minority. Now it is majority, and then later it will become minority, and it's like this. But the religion is not following minority or majority. The religion is, I gave you hadith. If someone has an answer to this hadith, he must tell us what is his answer. To say we do what the Prophet does. What about what the Prophet said? قال الرسول, the Prophet, what he said, we ignore it? I mean, what the Prophet have done, he has done what he can. He is a human being, so he has done what he can. But Can any human do everything? I mean, he was doing jihad, he was a leader, he was a leader. So he is, as a human, he is limited. You can't be doing this and doing this and doing this and doing this. If you are doing something, so you have to choose sometime between things.
So Sheikh, what is Sufism in its meaning?
No, I'm not talking about...
Because in my country,
yeah.
I went 2005.
Yeah.
A lot of people, they're doing Sufism, but I don't know if they're aware that they're doing Sufism. Okay? But my understanding of Sufism itself is pure, isn't it?
No, Sufism, if someone...
What does it mean?
If someone does... No, there is different kind of Sufism.
Okay.
Some people, they believe that Sufism is like they worship Allah until they become to a certain point, then they don't have to worship Allah anymore. That is going out of Islam. Some people are so crazy that just think that dhikr, this tasbih, subhanallah, 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 no praying, nothing. Some people say that I am Allah. Some people, the Sufis, sometimes they go out. They are, you understand? There are some people, Sufis, who are kafir, clearly. But the Sufis who just do dhikr, you understand? These people who sit and they do dhikr all the time, reading Quran all the time, praying. This is not kufr, and this is not bid'ah. This is not, you understand? This has nothing to do with kufr or bid'ah. But if they go out of the way, just like there is some people in what's called Sheikh Nazim, from what's called, where is this place? Nazim no, this small island next to Greece.
Malta.
Sorry, Sheikh, I just put the car.
خير إن شاء الله. يلا يعني إن شاء الله we talk about it later. يلا السلام عليكم. Okay, let's go to the dalil now. He says the prayer in jama'ah. A person praying jama'ah in tatawwu' is better than praying tatawwu' alone. And every tatawwu' in the houses is better than praying in the mosques, except if you are praying jama'ah in the mosque. That is better. Of course, better if you are not praying jama'ah in the house. And he mentioned the hadith here of Abi Huraira, that the prayer of a man in jama'ah is better than his prayer in his house or his market 25 daraja. This hadith is in Bukhari and Muslim. He says this is general for every salah, whether it's obligation or tatawwu'. Also, he narrated he said also the hadith of Anas ibn Malik, that the Prophet went to his grandmother Mulaika. She invited him to food.
From his grandmother, yeah?
Yeah.
Mother or father mother?
Mulaika is the mother of the mother. So she said, then the Prophet said, stand up, let me pray for you. So he prayed, then the Prophet led them in the prayer. He said, I and another orphan with us stood up behind him, and the woman stood up behind us. So the Prophet prayed 2 rak'ah and then he left. Many times the Prophet prayed jama'ah like this, duha time almost. Like the Prophet, when he went to Itban ibn Malik, he said, come to my place, he invited him. So the Prophet went there and he led the prayer 2 rak'ah. It was also just 2 rak'ah sunnah. So the Prophet used to pray sunnah in jama'ah.
Okay, you can even call someone and say, I'm going to pray sunnah.
Yeah, if you want to pray sunnah, yeah, you can pray in jama'ah. The Prophet didn't used to pray in masjid. He used to pray at home.
So I can pray sunnah with a member of family now at home.
Yes.
His granny was Muslim, yeah? The Prophet's granny was Muslim.
Granny?
His grandmother, his mother's mother.
It is the Anas grandmother.
Oh, I thought you said his thing's mother, that's why I asked you.
The Prophet's grandmother.
I was thinking, well, the Prophet's grandmother.
تحية المسجد, you pray Jama'ah as well.
Tahiyat al-Masjid, yeah, if 2 people come to the mosque, if someone says, oh, didn't happen at the time of the Prophet will come to the masjid, nobody said that it didn't happen. Nobody said I can enter with the mosque. I entered to the mosque with the Prophet in the same time, and he told me to pray alone, and he prayed alone.
So what I'm saying is, can we agree? Can we say, come, let's pray sunnah?
Yes, that's what he did. He went to the house of this man, and he told them to stand up, all the people in that area, because it's far from the central Medina, and then they prayed Jama'ah. This hadith is in Bukhari, and the hadith of Anas bin Malik, that he used to go to their house and he will lead the prayer there.
So this is in the house, yeah?
Yeah, in the house of Anas bin Malik, and this is it was in the guest house of Itban bin Malik that he led the people. Understand? Praying sunnah together, there is nothing wrong with it. It's actually better than praying alone.
You shouldn't force people. I said the only thing that could be wrong is if you force people.
Of course. He said the Prophet also has led people in the mosque, and it was tatawwuh, when he led them on the minbar. He was on the minbar and he was praying. He said, I have done this so you can learn my prayer. So he led them in there, and he led the people, and he led the people in the house of Itban bin Malik also. He said Ibn Zubayr also prayed in Jama'ah in the Haram 2 rak'ah after Asr, and he led people. Anas bin Malik also led people in the Jama'ah prayer, which is a sunnah. And then he narrates here a hadith which is in Abi Dawud, that the Prophet said, خير صلاة المرء في بيته صلاة المرء في بيته أفضل من صلاته في المسجد إلا المكتوبة, that the prayer of a person in his house is better than his prayer in the mosque, except the obligation prayer. We say this hadith is in Muslim. Here he narrated it from Abu Dawud. Okay.
Did you say imra? Did you say woman? So you said in Arabic.
Salatul mar'i.
Oh, mar'i.
Mar is man.
There's another one for women, though.
Yes, that is different. That is the here he said Salatul mar'i fi baytihi, salat of a man in his house is better than his salat in masjid, except for maktuba. But for a woman, the hadith is general. All the prayers are better in their houses. We will come to that. And then how he mentioned some narrations from other people. He says, Mujahid said Abu Ma'mar told me, if you pray the obligation prayer, go back to your house. Like, don't stay in the mosque. Mujahid said, Abu Ma'mar told him, if you pray in the mosque, the obligation prayer, then go home.
That's an order.
No, that is Abu Ma'mar saying, that is order, but it's not the Prophet. So he's saying to go home. I mean, pray sunnah at home. I mean, don't pray except the obligation in prayer. That is Abu Ma'mar. That is not proof, because staying in the mosque, if a person is staying in the mosque, is better than going home. I mean, praying at home is better, but staying in the mosque is better. You understand? There is difference between praying and staying. Now, if you
Staying in the mosque, sitting like a prayer, and you sleep.
No, staying in the mosque, if someone prays and stays in his place, now he want to go home, he can go home and pray at home, and it's better to pray at home if he is leaving the place. But if he has intention to stay in the mosque, then it's better to pray sunnah in his same spot and stay there.
Okay. Does he have to go straight home if he does go home? What can he do?
No, there is no obligation that he can go home, or that has nothing. That is someone saying. That always say that praying at home is better than praying in the mosque, the sunnah. Okay. Also, Nu'man bin Qais said, I have never seen Ubayd al-Salmani, Abid al-Salmani praying in the mosque, sunnah. Some people, they delay their prayers sometime when they are in the mosque. They used to delay their prayers and pray them all when they go home, because they can't.
All the sunnahs.
Yes. Also he says here, Damr ibn Habib, from a companion of the Prophet, that he told him, the prayer of a man in his house is better than his prayer when people can see him. The way the jama'ah is better than a man alone. You understand? That is, he is just trying to strengthen his point by saying that many people say the same thing. Also, he said, Imran bin Muslim said that Suwaid ibn Ghafala did never pray Sunnah at the mosque. Nusayr ibn Du'luq also said that Rabi' ibn Khuthaym never prayed in the mosque Sunnah. Ibrahim Nakha'i said that Hudayfa ibn Yaman was asked about prayer in the mosque after the obligation. He said that I don't like it. Anyway, that is this hadith is broken because Ibrahim Nakha'i never met Hudayfa ibn Yaman. So also Al-Abbas ibn Sa'ad said in the time of Uthman bin Affan, people used to pray 2 rak'ah before Maghrib in their homes, in their houses. He said the prayer after Jum'ah and all the prayers are the same. All of these prayers are okay in the masjid, but it's better to pray them at home, unless you pray them in the masjid jama'ah. That's what Ibn Hazm is saying here. Abu Hanifa and his companion say the prayer in the masjid is better. The sunnah is better to pray it in the masjid. Abu Hanifa says that.
The sunnah jama'ah, does anyone have any doubts on that? Any group of people say no, that's not right?
No, people, the Salafis say it's bid'ah. They say because the Prophet never done it and the Sahaba never did it.
Is it just them?
No?
It's just Salafis.
The others say it's fine to pray jama'ah. You understand? They say it's fine. The others say it's makruh. It's not, but it's fine. But the Salafis say it's bid'ah. Malik says it is better to pray in the mosque. The sunnah to pray in the mosque. We are not talking about jama'ah. Now we are talking about just praying in the mosque or in the house. So Abu Hanifa say every prayer sunnah is better in the mosque, contrary to the hadith that says is better in the house, which is in Muslim. Now Malik say all the prayers in the masjid is better except after Jum'ah. He said it's better not to pray after Jum'ah in the mosque. Malik makes these things like he looks and he like reasoning like, and he says because this is his followers said why it's better not to pray sunnah in the mosque. He said because then people of bid'ah, he said like people who don't pray with the imams, such as like Shia, will come to the mosque, people are praying, and then what they will do, they will pray with you, and that prayer they will not count it, and then when they finish they will stand up praying 2 rak'ah, and they will mean to pray Jum'ah. You understand?
He just said this like.
Well, he says this like what we call sadd al-dhara'i and stuff. So he say if you say it's better to pray it that way, I mean even if people start praying it, making better what is it is not better in the religion, it won't stop it, because if a Shi'i want to pray, or a Khawarij who doesn't believe you are Muslim and he wait for you until you pray, you finish, he stand up with you just moving up and down, and then when you finish stand up and pray 2 rak'ah, even if people don't pray, he will still do it. You understand? Even if people will stop praying in the mosque, he will still do it. So he says any other prayer is fine. You can pray at home in the mosque, but better to pray it in the mosque.
He just gave example. He didn't give the name.
Yeah, they just say this. What we call it? This is called Sidd al-Dhara'a. Sidd al-Dhara'a.
It's the religion of the Saudis.
Sidd al-Dhara'a, like something. They say we don't know it's haram. There is no proof it's haram, but we make it haram. Sidd al-Dhara'a.
Like, if, for example, if in Saudi Arabia they won't let women drive.
Like, look, if you ask them, why don't you let women drive? Now, they will not say it is haram to drive. I mean, according to their rules, any rule they take, if we say there is nothing to say it's haram, that's enough to be say halal.
They can prevent it. They don't want to, right? They can say women don't drive.
Why should who is Ibn Baz to stop women from driving?
Why?
What he's, I mean, the leader of a place has the authority to stop some people from doing some stuff. For certain period or something, but it is not his rule is not binding like the Quran or Sunnah. It's not like making haram.
Saying it's haram, is it? He just
No, the Saudis say it's haram. What? Ibn Baz and Ibn Uthaymeen, they say it's haram.
Yeah.
What did he say?
They say like clearly haram.
It is forbidden for a woman to.
this is what
No, they say
so they make it haram.
They don't. Haram is the way they say forbidden. Because I had a discussion with someone about this a while ago, and they said no one says it's clear like haram.
Yeah.
They say they shouldn't be like they really say haram, but they're like on the borderline. Do you understand? Because they can't say it's haram.
No, I don't say about driving, but I heard the Mufti of Saudi.
Yeah.
Someone says a woman. Al-Sheikh. Someone said the woman can go to a hotel. Can.
Okay.
Someone in Saudi said before, woman can't go to a hotel in Saudi.
Cannot.
No, woman can't. She by herself. She can't rent a room in a hotel. Now, renting a room in a hotel or renting a room in out of the hotel is the same thing. So, like a woman who has nobody, what can she do? Can't she live like she? So they say. And then when they say this, they say the woman can stay in a hotel. Someone says, the Mufti of Saudi says, these people fear Allah, making haram what Allah has made haram, making halal what, no. He says, making things halal, they have to reconsider. And no dalil, no proof. He could, if he had a dalil, he would have bring the dalil.
That's what he said.
Like, they have to reconsider, fear Allah, and reconsider giving, like making things, like making bad things available for. You understand? So what we call this is called Sadd al-Dhara'a. Like you tell them, do you have any proof that a woman can't go out? They say the woman should not go out. It's haram.
Yeah, don't let the women go out.
Yeah. And this is how I heard it. I didn't hear it myself, but people told me that they say that woman driving is haram. Now, if they say it's haram, if they say that woman driving is haram, that is because the proof, if you take it, you take qiyas, the women were driving camels. And if you say any way you take it, first, it's not haram because there is no dalil to say it's haram, and haram has been established in the religion. And they take this rule. The second rule they take is qiyas, and qiyas will make it halal. Yeah. So any way you take it is halal. But then they will leave everything they believe in, and they come to this rule. Yeah, because if you do it, then this will lead to haram.
The woman will break.
You understand?
What makes it worse is they let the woman by herself and the taxi driver.
No, they say a trustworthy driver can take the woman in the car. Like if they have this Indian driver who can take them, who's trustworthy. I don't know what trustworthy means. Yeah, in the car he can drive her, like, or with her finger.
They let that okay.
They play games basically. They don't.
That is, look, now a woman, if you take that rule, that rule will take you to nowhere.
Yeah, that means everything can be haram.
Yes, sure. Look,
Food is haram.
you see opium.
Okay, yeah.
Opium is taken from a plant, and this plant is flower. Now, if this plant is in Saudi, found in Saudi, it is if someone like has been found
Important.
that he has planted these opium plants,
Okay.
they will kill him, and when they kill him, it will be by judges, the Sharia judges, not in the court, which is civil court. That they will say, يحاربون الله ورسوله. This person is waging war against Allah and His Prophet. Someone planting a flower is waging I mean, yes, this flower, you can take from it opium. You can take from it the drugs is made out of it. But grapes, alcohol is made out of grapes, and people have grapes at home, but how can you make it? How can you decide that this person is doing this for? You have to wait.
You have to kill
When
him.
he makes, then you go and punish him the punishment of someone who is selling alcohol, not waging war against Allah and the Prophet because someone has flour at home.
They allow interest.
They'll kill.
Huh?
They'll
It's
kill.
the same thing.
They'll kill
Yeah,
him with grapes.
because this person, I mean, with this rule, there is a lot of things that I will.
Basically, if you have grapes more than a 1
Are they
week,
allowed?
they'll kill them.
Sorry. My question was, are they allowed to say that women don't drive? Can they say that or not?
No, the leader.
Yeah. Not making a halal or haram.
Yeah.
They say, I'm the leader, I don't want women to drive.
Yes, he can say that. He can say that.
Yeah.
He can say that, and
He's not a leader.
huh?
He's not a leader.
No, Ibn Baz is not leader. He can't say that. Not Ibn Baz. The Khalifa.
Only the
The Khalifa, who I'm not talking about Ibn Baz here. Ibn Baz has no right. He is nobody. Ibn Baz in Sharia, he is nobody, and Ibn Uthaymeen is nobody. The Khalifa is someone who can give orders, but then people, it depends. Is not his orders are not to be followed
Okay.
the way the Quran and Sunnah are to be followed. You see, when he says woman, for example, for some reasons, women should not come out because
The Khalifa does Sidd al-Ra'i. The Khalifa does Sidd al-Ra'i.
No, the Khalifa can say women should not go out because, okay, there is a scare here, there is a problem, there is someone is attacking women, so let us, until we finish with him, for some time, women should not go out, or curfew or something, or that is not like following Quran and Sunnah. You do it on your responsibility. You understand? He find you, he has to protect the general people. So he might take you to prison for some time and you understand? He has to look after the people, everybody. Sometime he must restrict you from doing some stuff, but he must be very careful how to deal with you. I mean,
To put someone in prison for breaking a curfew,
yeah,
That means you're
breaking. You are, if you seize it as without taking his rights, he will be. You have to look at all his rights that he are fulfilled, except the fact that you are protecting him and protecting others.
if you're going to put him in prison, yeah, his job knows so that he's got time off because his family needs
Yeah,
food.
no, you have definitely. If this has to be looked at, that he must go to the prayer, so that definitely the prison must have prayer, a mosque.
Could be a mosque.
No, yeah, and you have to pay him for his time.
can you translate Sila and Dara?
Hmm?
Can you translate?
I don't know what it is.
Sadda is to any what's the word? How do they translate it?
Closing.
Yeah, it's shutting the door, like closing the door before it leads to something. Like anything that can lead to something.
You know that proof? What is it? The Aisha said, if the Prophet